The sudden silence. For a long time, the Galactic Council believed humans talked too much. They gave speeches, made promises, and always wanted peace. Other species found them loud, emotional, and unpredictable. But humans were strong, and that strength brought balance to the galaxy. Then one day, without warning, the humans disappeared. No message, no war, no sign of anger, just silence. Every human ship vanished from the skies. Every ambassador left their station quietly. Every Earth signal went dark. At first, the Council laughed. "Maybe they're finally tired," said Chancellor Vok of the Creel Empire. "Or they're planning a new show," joked General Thar of the Vurok Horde. But as hours became days, and days became weeks, the laughter stopped because nothing was normal anymore. Human ships no longer patrolled the dangerous sectors. Trade routes once guarded by Earth fleets were now being attacked by pirates. Alliances began to break. Treaties failed without Earth's presence to keep the peace. The galaxy didn't just lose a voice, it lost its shield. Koresh, a Zentari historian, was the first to understand what it meant. He remembered something strange from 2 months ago. He had been speaking with a human captain on a neutral moon. The captain had smiled at him and said, "Watch the stars, Koresh, and remember this silence." At the time, Koresh thought it was just poetic nonsense. Now, he wasn't so sure. He visited the human embassy in Sector 12. It was empty, not damaged, not burned, just empty, like everyone had walked out calmly. On the desk, he found a note written in Earth's old language. "If we are not needed, we will no longer stay." Koresh's hands shook. He reported it to the Council, but most didn't care. "They'll be back," said Vok. "Humans love attention." But Koresh felt something deeper, something colder. Humans didn't lead. If to get attention, they left because they were finished, and they left without saying a word. Soon, strange reports started coming in. On the edge of the galaxy, a mining ship was saved from pirates. The crew said they saw a human battleship appear, destroy the threat, and then disappear. No contact, no name, just silent protection. Other reports said ghost fleets of old Earth warships were seen near collapsing planets, helping evacuate people without ever speaking. These ships had no living crew. They were running on ancient Earth AI, silent and perfect. Back in the Council chamber, panic began to grow. "Why are they doing this?" asked a worried delegate from the Volari system. "Why not come back and talk?" Koresh stood in the middle of the room and spoke slowly. "Because we never listened when they did." The room fell quiet. Just then, a new alert came from the Council's deep space sensors. A massive object had entered known space. It wasn't broadcasting any signal. It wasn't following any travel lane. It was just drifting. But its size was terrifying, larger than any known station. The object was heading toward the central worlds. Slowly but steadily, everyone assumed it was a weapon, but Koresh believed it was something else. A message, not one made of words, but of silence, power, and decision. He returned to the embassy and searched deeper. He found an old recording, an audio log from a human diplomat years ago. The voice said, "We gave the stars our friendship, our science, and our soldiers, not because we wanted control, but because we believed in peace. We were mocked, used, and ignored. One day, when the silence comes, remember, Earth didn't leave because it was weak. It left because it was done." Koresh looked out the embassy window at the stars. He finally understood the silence. It was not a retreat. It was not fear. It was the loudest warning the galaxy had ever received. And now, as the Council rushed to prepare for war or peace, or something in between, Koresh whispered to himself, "They were never just talking. They were warning us all along." The stars outside shimmered quietly, and far away, deep in space, the human silence continued to grow louder. Regret, echoes in the halls, the Council hall, once full of pride and noise, now echoed with silence. No laughter, no shouting, no talk of power, just the sound of regret. Chancellor Vok stood at the center table, his eyes fixed on the empty human seat. It had been untouched since Earth vanished. No one dared move it. No one wanted to admit the truth. Without humans, the galaxy was falling apart. Trade networks were failing. Pirates ruled the outer systems. Old enemies were rising again. And Earth, the one force that once kept peace, was gone. It wasn't war that broke the Council. It was the silence of the humans. "Where are they?" whispered Delegate Fenna, her voice shaking. "They didn't even leave a message." Koresh had been silent until now, but he stepped forward. "They did leave a message," he said, placing an old data pad on the table. It played a simple recording. A human voice spoke calmly. "You thought our silence meant weakness, but it was strength holding back fire. You believed we would always protect you, even if you spat in our face. You were wrong." The room froze. "They gave us everything," Koresh said, "and we gave them nothing in return." That same day, a message arrived from the star system of Eltar 9. It was a distress call, urgent and desperate. "Help us, where pirates are everywhere. We need the humans." But no help came. Only an Earth drone arrived. It hovered silently over the capital city, scanning the burning streets. Then it left. It didn't fire. It didn't save anyone. The message was clear. Humans were no longer cleaning up the galaxy's mess. Later that night, a secret meeting was held by the Council's inner circle. "Maybe we can bring them back," said General Thar. "They must want something. Power, territory, trade." Koresh shook his head. "They don't want any of that anymore." "Then what do they want?" shouted Vok, losing control. Koresh answered softly. "They want to be left alone, and they want us to learn." The Council didn't like that answer. Learning was slow. Apologies were harder. But still they tried. They sent a message toward Earth, begging for talks. They offered peace, friendship, even control of 3 sectors. No reply came. Instead, the stars themselves answered. A Council scout ship searching near old human borders picked up a strange signal. It was Earth's old heartbeat code, a signal they used during peacekeeping missions. But this one was strange. It was slowing down, almost like a countdown. Terrified, the Council sent a fleet to find the source. What they found shocked them. A giant human satellite, old and silent, floating in black space. Attached to it was a sign written in 5 galactic languages. "You were warned." Back in the Council hall, panic broke out. "Are they going to attack?" cried a voice. "Should we prepare for war?" "No," said Koresh, stepping into the center once again. "We should prepare for something worse." "What's worse than war?" asked Vok, voice trembling. Koresh looked up. Being ignored. The Council members looked at each other, frightened. They were used to being feared. They were used to being needed. Now they were neither. Their biggest mistake wasn't betraying Earth. It was thinking Earth would always forgive them. Outside the windows of the Council hall, the stars continued to shine. But something had changed. The galaxy felt smaller now, colder and far away. In the deep, dark silence, the humans watched and waited. The empty promise. Long before the silence, Earth stood in front of the Council with open hands. Humans came not with weapons, but with blueprints, medicine, and peace treaties. They brought water to desert planets. They taught war-born races how to build, not destroy. They gave more than any species ever had and asked for almost nothing. Just respect, just peace, just a seat at the table. But behind the smiles and handshakes, the Council never truly accepted them. To many, humans were tools, useful, but never equals. And when humans finally offered their biggest gift, a galaxy-wide peace accord, the Council accepted it with fake smiles. They called it the promise of unity. But it was a lie. In secret rooms, deals were made to weaken Earth's influence, to take without giving, to silence the loud voice of the one race that wouldn't bow. Now in the present, that old promise was back, and this time it haunted them. Koresh found it buried in Council archives, a dusty file untouched for years. He opened it and read Earth's final warning, written before they walked away. If our peace is only a mask, it will crack. If our words are used as weapons, we will become silent. Do not mistake our silence for surrender. Koresh stared at the glowing screen, heart pounding. He remembered the look on the human ambassador's face that day. The sadness, not anger. The same sadness seen on those who've given everything and were left with nothing. Now the galaxy was paying for breaking that promise. Entire systems were falling into chaos. Refugees flooded once rich colonies. Without Earth's help, the Outer Rim had become a war zone. But still, the humans did not return. They did not speak. They only watched. Then came something new, a transmission. Low, quiet, but unmistakable. It was from an old human comm station orbiting a dead moon. One phrase repeated in a cold, calm tone. The promise was empty. The silence is not. The council rushed to trace the source. They found nothing but empty satellites, abandoned outposts, and one ghost ship, an old Earth cruiser still orbiting a ruined station. A boarding team was sent. Inside, everything was clean, untouched, like the crew had just stepped out. On a screen at the command console was a simple message. We asked for peace. You gave us politics. Now we give you absence. The ship's engines lit up suddenly. Though no one touched a thing, it turned, exited the system, and left the council fleet behind in stunned silence. Back at the council chamber, Chancellor Vox slammed his fist on the table. This is madness. They're punishing the entire galaxy. Koresh looked at him, his voice cold. No, Chancellor. They're letting the galaxy feel what it's like without them. That same night, strange sightings began in the deep zones, places where council ships never dared to go. People spoke of lights in the dark, ships that made no sound, machines that healed wounded planets and then vanished. The humans were still out there, but they had become ghosts, not saviors, not conquerors, just watchers. And they had stopped speaking because the galaxy had stopped listening. In a small room far from the council hall, Koresh lit a candle. An old human tradition he had learned. He placed the Promise of Unity file beside it and whispered, "We should have honored it." Far away, in a quiet corner of space, a human satellite picked up his voice. It didn't respond, but the candle flickered, as if someone somewhere heard him. Whispers from the void. There are places in the galaxy where no stars shine. Dark zones, silent and cold, untouched even by time. For centuries, the Council had avoided these regions, calling them cursed, unstable, or unimportant. But now those dark places were whispering again. And this time, the voices sounded human. Koresh sat alone in the deep signal room, listening to raw space noise. The machines translated it into language, fragments of lost transmissions, forgotten echoes, and sometimes things that shouldn't exist. That day, the screen showed something new. "This is the Ark of Saul," a soft voice said. "We are not lost. We are choosing distance." The message wasn't a recording. It was live. The Ark of Saul was humanity's mythical deep space vessel, a ship said to carry knowledge, culture, and the last seeds of Earth's greatest minds. No one had seen it. Most thought it was just a story. But Koresh now knew it was real, and it was speaking again, slowly, carefully, as if testing if the galaxy was finally listening. Across the stars, more stories appeared like scattered sparks in the dark. A colony ship near the edge of known space was under attack by raiders. Just before the colony fell, an old Earth warship appeared. It didn't communicate. It didn't announce itself. It simply fired once. One clean, precise shot. The enemy fleet vanished into dust. The humans saved the colony. Then they left, without speaking, without landing, just a whisper through the stars. Balance, not control. Another report came from a dying moon. Its atmosphere was failing. Suddenly, machines descended from orbit, machines made of Earth metals and carrying the symbol of the Phoenix. They repaired the moon, gave it new air, restored its gravity, and vanished. No thank you was needed. No flag was planted. Just one phrase carved into the rock. "This time we fix, but we do not stay." The council was confused, then afraid. If humans were helping again, why no contact? Why no leadership? Why no voice? The answer came quietly, not from Earth, but from an ancient alien species called the Thirak. They had once been enemies of humanity. Now they carried a message written on ancient human parchment, preserved like treasure. "We do not return to lead, we return to remind. Your choices echo louder in silence." The galaxy started to feel smaller again, not because humans were coming back, but because they were everywhere, quietly watching, helping those who remembered respect, ignoring those who still held greed. Koresh brought this news to the council, but no one spoke. Even Chancellor Vox had nothing to say. He simply sat and stared out the window toward the dark zones as if expecting something or someone to emerge from the void. That night, the stars flickered oddly above 6 major council worlds. Sensors detected brief flashes, signals shaped like spirals like DNA. No damage, no attack. But after the flashes, Council data systems started showing strange messages on their own screens. Do you hear us now? We speak through action, not applause. Words are the reason we left. The people on those planets began calling them whispers from the void. Some were afraid, some felt shame. Others deep inside felt hope, because in those whispers there was no anger, only purpose. A silent, powerful purpose that said, we haven't given up on the galaxy. We've just stepped back to see who will rise without us. Koresh stood outside the council chamber the next morning, staring at the empty sky. He placed a small Earth-made music player on the balcony ledge and pressed play. A soft melody filled the air. It was a human song about leaving home. He didn't know the lyrics, but he understood the feeling. Sadness, strength, and the kind of goodbye that doesn't mean forever, only for now. And no one was coming to open the door, too late to apologize. The council had fallen quiet, not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that came after disaster. One by one, the council's great cities dimmed, satellites stopped spinning, alliances ended with unsigned messages. Hope became something people only whispered about, and in the middle of it all, Koresh stood in the old Earth embassy. He had returned here after the council broke apart. The halls were cold, the walls were covered in dust, but the Earth flag still hung proudly near the entrance, torn, faded, and silent, just like the humans it once represented. Koresh opened a drawer and found an old voice recorder. He hesitated, then pressed it to his lips and began to speak. To any human who still listens, we're sorry. We were blind. We took your kindness and turned it into burden. We thought you would never leave. He sent the message into the void, across ancient human frequencies. It was carried by old drones, dying satellites, and crumbling relay stations. And then he waited, for hours, for days, for anything. No reply came, until one night, his screen blinked, a single word appeared in pale blue text. Observed. No voice, no face, just the word. Koresh stared at it for a long time. The galaxy had cried out with apologies, but the humans didn't answer with forgiveness. They answered with silence. And that silence said everything. We saw your apology, but it came too late. Still, some tried. Small groups across the galaxy began following Earth's old teachings. They studied human books, copied their systems, rebuilt in their style, not to summon humans back, but to honor them. And in some places, strange things happened. Floods stopped after Earth-designed pumps, long forgotten, started working again. Fires went out after AI drones, long dead, suddenly powered. Up for a few minutes, then shut off forever. It felt like small signs of mercy, not forgiveness, just mercy. One day, Koresh received a call from a dying colony on the edge of known space. The last communication was brief. Something's here, the caller said, voice weak. Not a ship, not a person. It's just watching. Then silence. Koresh traveled there in person. When he arrived, the colony was gone. Buildings burned, towers broken. But in the center of the destruction stood a single object, a stone monument. It had no writing, no flag, just a handprint, small, human, pressed into the black surface, and beneath it, a pulse, barely visible like a slow heartbeat. Koresh reached out and touched it. It was warm, still alive, still listening. He whispered, "We need you." No reply came, but the heartbeat continued. Back on the council's homeworld, only one chamber still had power, the old Earth meeting room. Inside, the lights flickered on by themselves. A message played, soft and steady. We gave chances. You gave excuses. We gave warnings. You gave orders. We gave silence. Now we give you your future, alone. Then the room went dark, for good. Across the stars, people looked to the skies. Some searched for ships, others for answers. But what they found was only space, empty and endless. And somewhere in that silence, Earth waited, unseen, untouched, and unwilling to return. Because sometimes walking away is not a punishment, it's a lesson. One the galaxy was finally starting to learn. Judgment Day, or mercy. The stars were quiet, but no one trusted that silence anymore. The council was gone. The great species that ruled the galaxy were now scattered. Some fought among themselves, others hid behind shields, and many simply waited for the moment they feared the most, the return of Earth. But Earth didn't come with warships. It didn't send demands. It didn't shout through space. Instead, it sent a signal, a single pulse, so faint only the oldest, deepest sensors could detect it. And it carried no threat, no code, just direction. Koresh was the first to understand it. He followed the signal across forgotten routes, dead systems, and ghost stations. It led him to a black star, one that gave no light. There, hidden in the shadow of gravity, he saw them. The fleet, hundreds of ships, not old models, not damaged ones, but new, sleek, silent, shining like metal statues floating in the dark. They didn't power up, they didn't fire weapons, they just waited. Koresh sent a message. Why now? The answer came, not in words, but in light. The ships activated slowly, one by one, forming a shape, a circle. Inside that circle, a massive gate opened, Earth's symbol glowing above it. Koresh realized what it meant. They were leaving, not to hide, not to attack, but to go beyond the galaxy, to something greater. Earth wasn't returning for revenge. It had already judged the galaxy, and its answer was clear. We gave enough, and now we move on. Koresh watched in silence as the human fleet passed through the gate. No sound, no farewell, only that soft, glowing symbol, fading as the last ship disappeared. For a moment, everything felt still, like the stars were holding their breath. Then, across every inhabited world, a final message appeared. Not from Earth, but from the memory of it, spoken in thousands of languages at once. We gave the galaxy peace. You chose power. We gave warnings. You chose pride. We gave silence. You gave chaos. Now we give you a gift greater than war or peace. Choice. And just like that, the transmission ended. No one knew what to say. Some wept, some screamed, others fell to their knees, not out of fear, but out of understanding. Earth had not destroyed them. It had given them one last chance. To live without protection, to grow without control, to decide who they truly want. Ready to be. Koresh returned to the ruins of the council. He placed a stone where Earth's seat once stood. On it, he carved 4 words. They watched, then walked. Years passed. The galaxy changed. Some races rose with kindness, remembering Earth's lessons. Others vanished, lost to their own hate. But wherever hope lived, people still looked to the sky, hoping, just maybe, humanity still watched from the stars, not as rulers, not as saviors, but as silent guardians, far beyond reach, ready to return only if the galaxy ever deserved them again.